you got to call it a failure of a season because of where things were going and value. It's Royce Lewis. Royce Lewis missed time again, as he always does. There's part of it. He did have, as he always does, that weird, crazy home run output. He hit 9 homers in June. He had just come back, or that's right when he came back, because he had hit 1 in March, got hurt. He's gone. Then he comes back, destroys the world in June. Guess what? Did not hit and reach that home run total the rest of the season combined, the rest of the 4 months that he ended up playing. He ended up with only a 233 average, 16 homers, no stolen bases with that injury, which is something to consider. But he had a good barrel rate. His XBA was right around 250, so it was underperformed, but his hard hit rate went down. Royce Lewis was kind of, in a lot of people's minds, a top 50 overall player. Definitely not in that range now. The positive is, though, it's 111 ADP, so it's outside the top 100. Do you buy that Royce Lewis is a failure at the cost and from a production standpoint, or are you selling this badness and think that we've seen those great outputs and Royce Lewis is just a mechanical change away from not getting hurt and from having a 30 home run season and maybe hitting like 270 again?
Yeah, my smart ass answer is I like guys that play. So I don't really want Royce Lewis. The thing is he's great when he plays and he has those big streaks and everything. I did see another thing, recently in the news that he said a lot of his August decline was because of body fatigue. It's like, okay, you're fatigued when you played half the season. I mean,
dude, I will tell you this. He's not afraid to talk about that. Remember my interview with him? My interview where when I talked about the bad season that he didn't understand it was bad, he was like, well, because I missed all the spring training and then I missed a month. And then that next month was like my spring training. Like, I don't want to say it's an excuse or anything like that. He definitely is not afraid to be like, oh yeah, me not playing a whole bunch is part of a problem. But it's like, yeah, you also are not playing. You got to play.
Yeah, and look, to his credit, he has talked about making adjustments. I guess reading this, he's getting married today as we're talking about this. So he's been getting in better shape for that. And, for his, off-season program, they're adjusting it to kind of help with his injuries and his fatigue and all that stuff. I just, for me, this guy isn't stealing bases. He doesn't play many games. He will get you a nice month and then get hurt again, it seems. So I'm just not going to be investing in Royce Lewis. And he's a great player. He's got a lot of pop. I really enjoy watching him play when he's rolling, but I just don't trust him to stay on the field. So I'm going to buy that this might be an atypical year. Maybe the production is better, but I still, so far in his career, 12 games, 58 games, 82 games.
But also, I think like, it's not just the injury. It's like because I'm with you. I'm going to buy that this is the Royce Lewis that we know, in that I think there are injury problems. There is some big power outputs, but there's also some bad variance on his production. So I think when you say I buy this version of Royce Lewis, if he plays a full season, you're probably going to get 28 homers, 25 homers, something like that. But it might be somewhere between 230 and 260. I don't think he's going to go higher. Plus, the stolen bases seem to go. Will that come back? Okay, maybe he didn't run because of injury, but maybe he doesn't want to run because of injury, because you got to change that program. So now you're becoming Carlos Correa. If you're 25 homers with no stolen base upside, injury proneness, and you're at best Carlos, and where's Carlos Correa right now? 200s or something like that. I think that's something to worry about. He's a good example, by the way, of earlier when I was talking about fastball variance, how that can change. I'll just show you this real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about. 2020 is mine up here? Yeah. 2023 four-seam fastball, he hit 333 with a 281 expected batting average. Then look at this. 203 he hit this past year with a 211 expected batting average. My only point to that is extremes don't do much for me. I don't look at a guy that hits 330. I'm like, nope, I don't believe that. 280 expected batting average is still pretty high against four-seam fastballs, but that's a 50-point difference. But I also look at 203 and I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think you're somewhere in the middle. So that's why I think there's room for improvement. But you can see also, failure as far as expected and actual production against sliders. year over year, sinkers as well. I guess changeups was a massive failure. Like, he got beat up in these short sample sizes. So that's something to know and to consider when you're talking about Royce Lewis. But I think this version of who he is that guy. So like I guess if I go to it, I buy that this version of Roy. It doesn't mean I won't draft him, because outside the top 100, you want to take some risks. I think he could be decent, but I also, find me the bigger differences at this moment from him and Carlos Correa, except positionally. So I buy, you also buy Royce Lewis, that this is the version of him.
And I don't think I'm willing to buy him in many scenarios. You'd have to fall below a lot of those guys. And I just think someone is willing to take the risk on him, because there is a lot of upside there. And I'll admit that he's awesome when he gets rolling, right? He's one of the better players when he gets rolling. It's just, you got to be on the field, especially if I'm in something like an NFBC where I can't make many roster adjustments, a best ball, things like that. I don't like him. I like him way better in a daily moves league where I can move him around. I can put him in and out of the lineup depending on what is happening. I like him better there. So he is scenario based on where I'm drafting, but also he's conditional wherever you draft him. Wherever you draft him, your CI also probably needs to be a third baseman, and I don't really like having to make those adjustments that early in the draft. So I'm going to pass on Royce Lewis.